Spectrum News. My first question is, I think it was Chief Maroney who said that all of LA County needs to be on standby over the next few days as this new wind event comes through. I mean, can you clarify that? I mean, are you saying that everyone across, or I can't remember if you said city or county, but everyone needs to have a go bag ready? I mean, obviously people are concerned. Yeah, I think I said that anybody in LA County that's going to be under the red flag conditions needs to be ready and prepared to evacuate. It puts the entire region at risk, and although wildland brush fires are not normal for January, we all have to look at the situation that we're currently in. So for me, I speak on behalf for all the residents that are in the LA County areas, those 59 cities and all of the unincorporated areas. Just be watching carefully, be ready to go? Yeah, you know, make sure that you haven't silenced your emergency alerts on your telephones. Make sure that you have your own individualized wildfire action program. Make sure that you have your own individualized wildfire action plan. Go to www.fire.lacounty.gov/RSG, ready, set, go, and you can prepare. Thank you.
Thanks. Barry Johnson, KCAL News. Can you clarify the concept of curfew? Because don't we effectively have a 24-hour curfew right now, at least until Thursday, as you were saying, because civilians cannot go into areas now at all that are under mandatory evacuation?
So in regards to curfew in the impacted areas, that does go from 6 p.m. till 6 a.m. There are other areas that are under evacuation order, which means that nobody who is unauthorized should be in those areas. They are covered by different portions of the penal code. Technically speaking, if you are there during the day and you have no business there and you are confronted by law enforcement, and we've been doing a great job at it, you can be subject to arrest under a misdemeanor. I don't know of any cases where we've done that, but that is a tool in the toolbox. Bottom line is, you don't live there, you don't belong there, stay away from there. There's no reason for you to be there to not only impact the residents that have been victimized, but more importantly, the first responders who need to go in and out of there, and other utility folks that are working there to repair a lot of the things like electricity, gas, and water, and internet that are down.
Matthew Bigler, KNX.
Hi, thank you. This is probably a question for, I'll step back a little bit to avoid feedback. For some of the electeds, we've been getting questions from LA County residents who have heeded the evacuation orders. They've left their homes, and now they're incurring lots of expenses, food, clothing, especially shelter. Can they expect to be compensated by insurance companies, by the government? What is being put forth to help those folks who are now paying a lot of money because they can't go back home?
You know, I'll address the repopulation because I said it at the end of my remarks. They can't go home simply because it's not safe. We've all spoke up here about the evacuation order areas and the evacuation warning areas. The minute it's safe, it's our collective priority, whether you're elected or appointed, to be able to get residents back in their home just as quickly as possible. That conversation is not going to occur until the end of the predicted red flag event that's on its way. The last thing we want is for Sheriff Luna or the police chief, McDonald, to be reporting on more fatalities. Homes and communities can be rebuilt, but we cannot allow any other fire fatalities. That would be terrible. So thank you for your understanding. It is our priority, and we're going to do the best that the very best that we can. Thank you.
I'm Jackie Irwin, the assembly member that represents this general area, the 42nd Assembly District. We've had 5 fires here in the last 6 weeks or so. So we are quite familiar with what the residents are facing. The first thing that we would say insurance-wise is you have to get in touch with your insurance company. You have to put together lists of what your costs are. And on our website, our assembly website, we have a list of everything you need to do and some tips for insurance companies. Secondly, residents have the ability to apply for FEMA funding. And again, there's a process you go through. The website has been pretty bogged down, but I would say contact us in our office. We will do everything we can to help you connect with FEMA. And within the next week, we are going to start working with our other partners, the Tracy Park and Lindsay Horvath's office. And I think right now at the libraries, we're going to be having resource centers that residents can go to. The last thing, not exactly along the lines of what you're talking about, but what we're already hearing is about price gouging. And we urge anybody that suspects price gouging as they're trying to rent housing to contact the Attorney General's office. This is absolutely unacceptable and illegal to do in the face of this horrible tragedy. So any of our residents that have questions, please contact our office. Unfortunately, our Pacific Palisades office burned down. Our district office in Thousand Oaks, because of the fires, doesn't have phone service right now, so we urge you to contact our Capitol office or look at our website, and you can just do a Google search for that.
Next question is in reference to fire cause investigation. Morgan Windsor, ABC News National.
Yeah, I was hoping someone could expand on the status of the ongoing investigation, and specifically, I'm wondering, has the LAFD considered the New Year's Eve fire in Palisades in the investigation, the potential that this was a rekindling? And once that fire was contained, did the LAFD ever revisit the scene? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I can't speak for LAFD, but I can speak into general practice, and we have a task force where LAFD, LA County Fire, LAPD, LASD, ATF, and as needed FBI are all working together in task force configuration to try and find source and origin of this fire and all of the fires we've experienced. So as they go through this, we won't speak as to where the investigation is or what the findings are at this point, but we will, once it's complete, you'll be made aware of what we know. So thank you for your patience on that.
I'll just briefly talk about your question from a previous fire that had occurred 7 days prior. We do not have any information that there's any connections, but that's the good thing when we bring in an outside resource that is going to look into every single detail to make sure that the fire service knows, the community knows exactly where and how and when all of this occurred, and that's across the region in regard to all the other fires that occurred even outside of the Palisades. Thank you.
Next question is in reference to our air support. Jeremy Lee, NBC Universal.
Hi. What contingencies are there if air support has to be suspended, and how are you preparing for this wind event in a different way than earlier last week?
Yeah, so with aircraft being able to fly, that can be weather dependent. Obviously, it has to be safe and it has to be effective. They are, as I spoke earlier about contingency lines, we, with the aircraft, obviously the rotor wing are dropping on hot spots and extinguishing fire with our fixed wing that drop fire retardant, as well as our helicopters. We have set up a mobile retardant base in which the helicopters actually drop retardant as well. We are pre-treating with fire retardant well ahead of the fire, and if they get grounded, we have actually built ourselves a little bit of barrier in time for crews to get in there and get on the line, go direct as possible, and extinguish the fire. So it's important to remember, though the retardant might not extinguish it, it is a barrier. It does provide us some time. So it really comes to that planning piece like I talked about earlier with our primary plans and our backup plans. So.